Hi, William Huyn here, and today I'm gonna talk about retro games and why I usually enjoy them more than the games releasing nowadays. But first, a word from our sponsor, Stuff. Stuff is great for everything you can think of. With Stuff, you can make a sandwich, clean the dinner table, stick paper on the wall, repair other stuff, and so much more. Be careful though, stuff can cause addiction. Remember, if you need something, you probably need stuff. So recently I've been playing a bunch of retro games, mostly because of me installing RetroArch on my phone. So I've been playing mostly SNES games, but I've also bought a few games for my PS5 that are actually remakes of old SNES games, mostly made by Tango Project. Those are like three guys from Natsume back in the days, and they are remaking and re-releasing their old games, such as Shadow of the Ninja, Ninja Saviors, Pocky and Rocky, and Wild Guns. So I've been playing, actually I've played only Pocky and Rocky on my RetroArch thingy. I haven't played it yet on PS5. I'm waiting for a sale to buy it. I've been buying quite a bit of games lately. But anyway, I've been enjoying that a whole lot, and I wanted to try and put in a convoluted talk type video why I like them more. I've been playing. There was The Last of Us Part 1 dropping on the PlayStation Plus, and I've been playing that. I'm quite a bit into it. It's pretty good. The story is great, but the gameplay is, I don't know, it's not engaging me that much, to be honest. Love the story though, and the visuals are absolutely breathtaking. But yeah, I've been playing that in contrast with those SNES remakes, super pixelated 2D games. And yeah, let's man, this intro is very long. Let's get into the points. I have like 6 points to go through, so let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is loading times. So, since I've upgraded to the PS5, it's a lot less egregious. When I was playing on PS4, it was crazy. Every time you die and you have to reload, it could take up to a minute to load some games. With the PS5, it's definitely better, but there's still a bunch of loading times, and it's, you know, if I grew up in the early 90s. I've been playing games for 35 years plus, and when I was young, I was playing mostly the Game Boy and the SNES. And loading times, it did not exist, you know? Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. It was pretty instant, and then came the 3D era where you got some loading times, and it was pretty bad when the games were read from the disc. Nowadays, you install the game on your console, or your PC. It's a lot less demanding, but back in the days, man, you were hearing the disc spinning to load the content. But anyway, I realized by playing those old games how much I enjoy the instant aspect of it. That you don't wait. I'm gonna try to put up some footage here of me trying to play a modern game versus me playing a retro game, and it's kind of crazy when you think about it. I think I'm gonna put up the Dead Space, the OG Dead Space footage where there's like 20 minutes of loading time and cutscenes before you can actually play the game. And it's, by the way, it's an unskippable cutscene, so every time you want to play Dead Space, you have to watch the cutscene. It's pretty annoying. But anyway, that was my first point. Old games loads really fast. Well, there's no loading time. The second thing I want to talk about, I'm gonna be brief because it's been talked about endlessly online, but it's the monetization. Back in the day, you were buying your game, you had your game, that's it. There was not even a possibility of getting a DLC or an expansion. That was it. That was the game. And, you know, nowadays, even paid game. I've made a whole video about this not too long ago about the red flags in gaming and how even though you buy a full priced single offline player game, you can still buy fucking XP booster in a cash shop. This is annoying. This should not exist. So yeah, I have nothing else to say. I really dislike the modern monetization of games. And back in the day, games were kind of pricey. I remember, I'm Canadian, so this is in Canadian money. Maple syrup money, beaver bucks, whatever you want to call it. But I remember my parents, I was pretty good at school. And when I was finishing school in the summer, my parents were buying me a game to, congratulate me on my score. And I remember asking them, we were at Sears at the time, it doesn't exist anymore, and there was the second Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game on the Game Boy, and this thing costed $60, and $60 in 1992, something like that, 1993 maybe, but it's a lot of money. I don't know with inflation and all of that how much it equate, how much it's worth now, but we're probably talking about $100 plus. So it was kind of pricey, but you had the frigging game. That was it. And it came with a manual, it came with something. Nowadays, you buy a Switch game, a Nintendo Switch game, you open the box and it's like, oh, okay, there's the little card inside and that's it. There's nothing else. No manual, nothing. It's kind of depressing. Well, that ended to be longer than I wanted to. Let's go on the next point. So the next point, I think I'm gonna put those 2 points in the same, but it's gameplay density and replayability. So back in the SNES days, there was a few long JRPGs, but most games were pretty short, actually. All the Tengo Project games I've played, I can get them done in an hour. Once I've learned it, I mean, it took me quite a few hours to get to the end, but once you learn the game and you're getting good at it, you can do a run in about an hour, and that was the case for a bunch of games. Super Metroid is kind of long the first time you play it, because there's a bunch of secrets and how to get past through this or that place, but once you know the game, it's really not that long. So yeah, most games were pretty short, and it was all gameplay. There was not a bunch of cutscenes in it. So this is what I talk about when I talk about gameplay density. It was about the game. There was no... Nowadays, even like I really enjoyed Stellar Blade, but there was a few times in that game where you could not run because the game wanted you to expose some lore to you, so you can just walk a long line and you just walk while somebody's talking and explaining why you're here, where this and that comes from. And the first time it's completely fine, but when you're like me and you're replaying your games, often it kind of gets annoying, because yeah, I know, let me skip that and let me get to the point and get to the next mission. So this is what I talk about when I talk about gameplay density. And the replayability, Mark from the Electric Underground, a YouTube channel I highly recommend if you're into games and arcade games, retro games, shmup, all of that. And he's doing some very in-depth analysis of games. And lately he's been... I'm gonna post his a screenshot of his comments here. He's been beginning to talk about that playing a game is actually closer to listening to a music album than watching a movie. We often associate games with movies, and it's been quite the case in the recent years. But if you go back, he's explaining, I cannot explain it really well, that comparison with music, but I feel he's onto something, because the game has a certain rhythm to it. There's a certain, you like replaying section, like you like hearing the chorus of a song again and again and again. And I feel that old games being shorter definitely encourages replayability. There was score too. Scores are something of the past, but back in the day you were replaying your game to get a higher score. Nowadays it's pretty rare. It's not gone completely, but yeah. Anyway, so replayability. I think retro games are more replayable. There is obviously some exceptions. There is a bunch of exceptions, but you know, I'm talking generals here. Okay, so this one might be a me problem. Let me know in the comment section if this is something that's bothering you, but with the newer games, one of the things that keeps getting on my nerve is the file size. I went back and looked at Zelda: A Link to the Past to see how big the file size was, and it's under 1 megabyte for Zelda: A Link to the Past. And I went to see like a few more modern games. Of course, I'm taking some you know, one of the worst example here, but Star Wars Jedi Survivor is 150 gigs. So even if you have like 1 terabyte of hard drive, it's, you know, you can still only have like 10 games installed, which is kind of crazy. And when there's a 100 gig update on a game, well, maybe 100 gig update is pretty rare, but no, 5-10 gigs updates, you know, if you don't have a super good internet, it can be long. It's, you know, get back from work, oh, I'm gonna play my game, oh, okay, there's an update and it's gonna take 2 hours for it to download and install. Oh well, guess I'm gonna play a game tomorrow. So yeah, file size is something that's annoying to me, and looking back at those old retro games, it's crazy the differences. I understand it's not the same thing, I understand why it's bigger, but you know, it's still something I find annoying. All right, now the last one. Okay, this might be a controversial one. I kept it to the for last, because nobody's listening videos until up to the end. So you know, the discourse around the games. I'm gonna put a few pictures here in the background. Back in the days, before the internet went mainstream, there was not a lot of ways to complain about games. You know, you had a few printed magazines that were talking about the games, upcoming games, and I'll put some pictures here too. You know, you got, okay, the new Zelda is coming, here's what the map looked like, here what the power-ups might be, here, you know, here's how it's gonna look and play, and the story, what's the lore behind the game. And nowadays, it's, man, it's always journalists are, and people too, honestly, it's not just game we like to meme on games journalists, but there's a lot more people. But you know, I remember when Hogwarts Legacy came out, it was all about J.K. Rowling transphobia, and when Stellar Blade came out, it was all about the main character being too sexy. And on that note, I'll admit that the Stellar Blade subreddit is kind of cringe to look at. Hey people, you know, there's a game too. It's not just about the main character's look. But anyway, it's, I wish we could go back to the actual game and, you know, not talk about all the controversies that most of the time we create ourselves to then complain about. It's not that important. I wish we could go back to just making games and enjoying games without trying to find why it's problematic. Because if you really want to find something problematic, you can do it. I believe in you. So yeah, anyway, this video is longer. You know, you might not believe me, but I've been trying to be more to the point and do shorter stuff lately, and I think I'm kind of failing, but oh well, you know. Hope you've enjoyed. I think that was all I had to say about this. Now I'm gonna try to put up some footage and some stuff to put in the background of this, because I'm speaking into the void right now. So anyway, hope you've enjoyed. Now go do something else. Go play games. Bye bye.